Hello all, this is Halloween, and if you love cemeteries and haunted places as much as I do, you may want to subscribe. I'll be taking you to a different place every week. Today, I'm taking you to the Woodlawn Roesch Patton Cemetery in Nashville, Tennessee. This cemetery is huge. It spans about 436 acres of land and has over 300,000 burials. It is the final resting place of a lot of the originals of country music. So George Jones is buried there, Tammy Wynette is buried there, Little Jimmy Dickens is also buried there, Johnny Paycheck, and many more. It's definitely not a cemetery you could do all in one day, or even find everybody that you're looking for. But it's a great one to visit. It is a newer cemetery. It's owned by Dignity Memorial, so it's a lot of the flat headstones, and it's a really beautiful and very hilly cemetery. Enjoy. We're here at the Woodlawn Roesch Patton Cemetery, where a lot of country music's greatest stars are buried, and some of their cremains are here in the niches. This cemetery was established in the early 1900s. There's thousands of burials and more every day here. The memorials go on for as far as you can, and it's very hilly, so you know you can't even try to do this in one day or two or maybe even three. It's just acres and acres of land, but it's beautiful. We're gonna go in and see what we can see. The rain hath come. And now we're here at the Woodlawn Cemetery in Nashville, where George Jones is buried, and we are approaching his grave. There are many, many, many acres of land here. I don't know that we're gonna find everybody else, but Tammy Wynette is somewhere in a niche here, so we may find her. But we're approaching what I believe is George Jones's resting place. We're here at the final resting place of the possum, George Jones. It says he stopped loving her today. I guess this was his later wife, Nancy Ann Jones, who he was last married to. They were married March 4th in '83. It says at the bottom, I put a golden band on the right left hand. George Jones was actually married to Tammy Wynette earlier on. I guess this was his last wife. But if you're not familiar with George Jones, he was one of the classics in country music. Judging by his final resting place, a bit of a show-off. I'm loving her today. They placed a wreath upon his door, and soon they'll carry him away. He stopped loving her today. I know when he was married to Tammy Wynette, they had a bit of a tumultuous relationship, but he must have calmed down in his later years. Right here it says the possum, because that was kind of his nickname, because everybody thought he looked like a possum, and he really did. He really did kind of look like a possum. He had a possum face, pointed nose, his eyes were real close together. If you haven't heard any of his music, he's, like I said, he's one of the classics, and you're going to want to check him out when you get a chance. This is the final resting place of Johnny Paycheck, and he could be found just right out from George Jones, the possum. So if you walk, 20 feet, here's Johnny Paycheck. Another legend in the country music industry. if you come in and you just look at how vast the grounds are, it's just so much land and you're going to be overwhelmed. It's hilly. Make sure that you're prepared for that. Wear comfortable shoes. Be prepared for a little bit of a workout. I just wanted to show you guys that when you do come in, I was able to find everybody I was looking for. I found Johnny Paycheck, George Jones, and Tammy Wynette, and another couple. But when you do come in, if you do want to know where the niches are, this big white building here in the back, we just got there. We didn't even get there in time, actually. They were like, it's 5 o'clock and we're closed for the day. I'm like, I came from Florida. I'm going to see Tammy Wynette, so just deal with it. No, actually, we went in and I was just like, we're from Florida. I got to see Tammy Wynette. There was like 3 guys in there, and one of them was like, well, we close at 5. That's how we do it here. And I'm like, well, that's not how we do it in Florida. So the other guy was like, let them in, they're from Florida. And so they ran us up there real quick to see Tammy Wynette's niche. And as we were walking through the hallways, it's a huge niche. That's that big white 2 or 3 story building behind this one here. So if you want to come in and see the niches, you can go right in through the front door of the funeral home and they will take you up there, or you can go in through these side doors here. There's another door as well on the other side of the building if you want to go that way. But it does close at 5 on Sundays. I don't know if it's open later any other day, but I would just make sure to get here before 5 to make sure you can see that, because I do believe that there are other country music stars and notables whose cremains are in the niches in that building there. So you're going to want to know that information. We're headed out. Like I said, it's just impossible to see everything here, and most of it is the flat headstones. So you're not going to see a whole lot of ornate mausoleums and things of that nature. This one is, in particular, it is a Dignity Memorial Cemetery, and they basically do the very modern flat headstones, flowers. It's, even if you wanted to find somebody, if they've got that flat headstone, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be like a needle in a haystack. The only reason I found Johnny Paycheck was because he was buried right next to George Jones, so, or close to him in close proximity. Other than that, I mean, I may not have found him if he was anywhere else. So, and George Jones is actually in a gated area right in the dead center of the cemetery. So if you want to know where he is, he's not hard to find. Just follow the line of cars, because a lot of people come and visit him too. Anyway, we're getting out of here. Your Nashville trip will not be complete unless you stop by the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman Auditorium. Tom Ryman was a ship captain and a very successful businessman who ran and operated many ships. One evening, at the height of his business career, he stumbled upon a tent at the corner of 8th Street and Broad and stopped by to listen to a sermon by a Reverend Sam Jones. Upon listening to this sermon, he had an awakening. A lot of people have had these awakenings when they go and they listen to somebody that's really powerful speaking in church, and they have these rebirths of sorts. And that's exactly what happened to Tom Ryman. Prior to that, he'd not been a real religious man, but he found God that night. And what he wanted to do was bring that experience to everybody there in the area of Nashville. The Ryman Auditorium building was built between 1885 and 1892, finally completed in 1892, because he wanted this spiritual awakening to kind of thrive and for people to be able to come and worship. He built what was called the Union Gospel Tabernacle. This was a place of worship where everybody in the city could come and worship. All colors, all creeds were welcome to come and worship in this building. He thought maybe perhaps everybody could have the same experience that he had. And he wanted to house the Reverend Sam Jones as well, give him a place to preach rather than just a tent. So this became a place of worship for a long time. Unfortunately, in 1904, Tom Ryman died, and upon his passing, the tabernacle was obtained by another owner who kind of made it more of a performance venue where a lot of vaudevillians would actually come and perform. If you're unfamiliar with vaudeville, it was an early 1900s variety show that basically traveled. So all of these earlier performers, the Marx Brothers, and even Bob Hope and Rosemarie, Julian L. Tinge, different people like that would come and perform in these variety shows that would travel about. And at first it was really for vaudeville, and it kind of evolved into more of a music venue. In 1943, the Grand Ole Opry moved in, and it was the Grand Ole Opry from 1943 until 1974. And it had some of the best artists in country music come over. Hee Haw was filmed out of the Grand Ole Opry. All kinds of things. That's where Minnie Pearl really got her start. And Tammy Wynette, Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, even Elvis Presley not only got their start there, but played there regularly on that very stage. Johnny Cash even had his own show at one point and was said to have been insistent on not having it anywhere else but the Grand Ole Opry. In 1974, the Grand Ole Opry closed, lost its home. The Ryman Auditorium actually kind of went to heck. It was not cared for and maintained. Nobody was coming in there. It was becoming condemned and badly damaged because it was an older building and it wasn't maintained properly. But fortunately, it didn't stay that way, because some years later, all of the musicians that had played there and really got their start, they kind of all pitched in to provide for the old Opry. They provided financial support to get it back up and restore the original integrity of the Opry. So we can give thanks to all of those artists who really loved the Grand Ole Opry, who breathed new life back into it, and now it remains today as one of the most authentic, awesome places for any musician to step foot onto that stage. The Ryman Auditorium, as it's known again today, seats 2,362 people, and today has an awesome museum you can go visit with a gift shop. You can go and have your picture taken close to the stage. Now, they don't allow you up onto the stage, so me and my husband opted out of that. I mean, they'll take your picture for free, but it's another $20 probably to get your picture printed out and all of that. And we had too many other things we wanted to do, so we took our picture next to the stage. You can stand up with your back against the stage and take your own picture and not pay anything. So we opted to do that, and we took plenty of pictures inside the Opry, and it's a great experience. I'm so glad we did it. We kind of were contemplating not doing it, but I'm so glad that we did, especially learning of the history, and places like that are always in some kind of danger too of being destroyed, because not everybody values history. If enough people come together and they say, yeah, we need to get rid of that, it'll be gone and it'll be only a memory. So get there while you can to the original Grand Ole Opry Ryman Auditorium. They show you a 3D reenactment, sort of. It's not a reenactment because it's on screen, but it's three-dimensional, and it's surrounding you, kind of like an IMAX theater, of the whole history of the Ryman Auditorium, first being the Union Gospel Tabernacle, and then going to being renamed the Ryman Auditorium again during vaudeville days, and then being renamed once the Opry moved in as the Grand Ole Opry, and now it's been renamed once again as the Ryman Auditorium. I think its most notable years were during the time when it was the Grand Ole Opry, and it definitely is a sight to see. It's just an amazing experience. So don't miss out on the Grand Ole Opry. Remember to show your military ID if you are military. That's going to give you a good discount. Just definitely make it part of your stay, because you're going to be sorry if you missed it. Enjoy. Another thing you're going to want to do when you're in Nashville, if you're into that sort of thing, is visit Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. I love wax museums. Every time we're somewhere different, I have to go. If they have one, I go. So I've been to one in San Antonio. I've been to the one here in Orlando. I've been to the one in St. Augustine. There's a couple in St. Augustine. I love wax museums and wax figures. I think they're so cool and special. And this particular one in Nashville was really the best artistry I've seen for country music artists or artists in general. You go to some of them, you're like, okay, it's a wax figure of somebody. It doesn't really look like them. Most of the Tussauds are pretty good about that. But this one, I have to say, got every little detail, especially Minnie Pearl. She was awesome. They had the age spots on her and everything. The teeth were just right. She just looked real, you know, and all of the figures in there were just stunning, amazing. They had some rock artists. They had Janis Joplin played in Printer's Alley before she was famous. She actually, I think, just sang there like karaoke or something before she ever was really famous. So Janis Joplin is huge in Nashville as well. So it's just something to see. And it is located in Nashville. And it's kind of like a mall. They've got a lot of touristy things in there, touristy kind of restaurants. There's a big Bass Pro Shop in there, my daddy's favorite. So if you want to see like a huge Bass Pro Shop and that's the kind of thing for you, go in there and you won't be disappointed. But the Wax Museum is definitely something you don't want to miss. Check it out. So every time we go traveling, we always want to check out the great places to eat. And the best way to do that is asking the locals. Of course, we watched some videos on Nashville prior to leaving here, and we were already set on we were going to have the Nashville hot chicken, we were going to go to Hattie B's. But on our Lyft ride from the airport to the Union Station Hotel where we stayed, that's going to be in a different episode. Our Lyft driver, we were kind of asking about different places to eat and stuff, and my husband mentioned Nashville hot chicken, and our driver was like, well, where are you planning on going for that? And my husband said Hattie B's, and the driver said, I knew you were going to say that. That's actually not the best hot chicken in Nashville. You got to go to Prince's. So we were like, wow, okay. And we asked a couple other people. They were like, oh, Prince's, you know. So evidently Prince's was the place to go for hot chicken. So the morning we woke up and decided that Prince's was what we were going to have for lunch, my husband took me on this wild goose chase in Nashville. It's uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill. We're going round and round in circles looking for this place. We couldn't find it anywhere. The Google Maps was taking us pretty much right to it, but the thing was, you had to go up the stairs to what was called the Assembly Dining Hall. Now, prior to finding this, he had taken me around a block of uphill and downhill, like about 3 times, and I was done. We were about to look for something else. So my husband stops and asks one of the street vendors, hey, where's the best barbecue around here? The guy goes, Prince's Hot Chicken. And I was like, we were both like looking at each other like, oh my God, that's exactly what we were looking for. He said, you got to go up this street here, and then you're going to go up the escalator to the Assembly Dining Hall. It's kind of like a food court, and that's where it is. It's in the food court. We're like, thanks, man. So we went to the same place we passed 2 or 3 times, but we went up the escalator to this Assembly Dining Hall. Not only was there Prince's Hot Chicken, but there was a lot of great places we've eaten before in the past in other states, like the Velvet Taco. And there was pretty much something for everybody there. So they had a chicken and waffles place, they had a Indian cuisine place, they had a sushi place, and all just really, really good places to eat. So if you are visiting Nashville, you're going to have to check out the Assembly Dining Hall. And especially if you can't agree on something, you and your wife, you and your significant other, go to the Assembly Dining Hall, and each of you can have whatever you want. Because I'm telling you, it's all there, desserts and everything. So Prince's is the place to go for Nashville hot chicken. You can go to Hattie B's, but Hattie B's is going to be a line around the building, because all the tourists go there because they don't know any better. So now you know the secret. Go to Prince's Hot Chicken in the Assembly Dining Hall. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I hope you are loving these Nashville videos. I still have another one to bring you after this, and that'll be the end of the Nashville excursion. But there was just so much to do and see there. I wanted to make sure that I included everything without putting out an 1.5 hour long video. So it's going to be 3 parts. Check out the rest next week, and I'll see you next time.